get down to business. Who's up first?
How's business? How's business?
Well, I mean, today was good. I'm living in the now, like the rest of our team. You can't worry about what's been going on. You worry about what you can control. So today was a good day. Yesterday was a good day. Trying to black out everything else.
Including last Sunday night.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker. Well, because it's part of the whole process. It speaks to the 49ers organization and what Kyle and John built here, but there was no question, I think, in anybody's mind that we're going to find a way to win that game. When you make yourself that vulnerable to not thinking anything but victory and you lose, it hurts. It's been hurting for about the last month. But then the best way to handle that emotion is to try to fix it. You fix it by changing it. And the only way to change it is to win a football game. So you press forward through that as best you can on Monday and Tuesday. And once the players are back in on Wednesday, you have no time to worry about anything else other than playing the Chicago Bears and trying to find a way to win.
When do you guys really work on your third down offense, considering the last few games' difficulty? What is it? Like, is there a main day of the emphasis? Is Thursday? Is today that day?
No, you're all. It's a very important down because it relates to first and second down. It earns you more opportunities in first and second down. So we start that the second we start watching game tape. So the second we put the final opponent to bed, as a staff, we're all studying game tape of the previous opponent, and the first and second down plan comes together first, but we're studying all of that and putting down ideas and thoughts, and then tightening it up as after your first and second down prep is done. But that starts on Monday, probably for me about 10:30 a.m. And yeah, it's like everything else. When you do something poorly, you try to fix it. So, and you don't put, things like that, like being one for, I guess you'd call it, on third down. That doesn't go away. You're thinking about it in bed. You're thinking about it all the time. So you try to get on top of that as fast as possible. But it's like everything else in football. When you're not doing something well, you try to fix it as fast as you can.
Given that Kyle's talked about the lack of execution has been such a big problem, and it seems like it hasn't been this way over the last few years. Have you been able to, has it been head scratching at all, just not executing plays that have sort of been your bread and butter?
No, here's the thing, like if you can look at individual games where we've been over 60% on third downs. You can look at stretches where we've been pretty productive. One thing you learn in this business over time is that nothing's an absolute, and you are what your next game is. We've had games in the past that we've won. I'm sure you guys could dial it up on your apples right now, that we've won where we've had 20% conversion rate. And those particular games, you're extremely explosive in first and second down and try to stay out of it, stay out of third down. But for us, for the most part, you're not saying, okay, we are a bad third down team. We're playing bad on third down last game. The game before, we didn't do as well as we wanted to. How are we going to be on this week? And everything that you're doing, it'd be a lot easier if it was one thing. That would be a coach's dream because you just fix that thing. But when you have multiple variables that are contributing to the overall outcome, you really have to assess one by one. Okay, how do we do this? Are we doing this too much? Are we doing too little of this? Are these guys prepared for what they're seeing? All of it. They get paid too. Defenses have a plan. And there's so many variables. We practiced with wet footballs last week. clearly not enough, or you're thinking through all of those things, but they're compounding variables. So you just try to do what you can control and see if the outcome can improve moving forward.
Could you explain what a starting quarterback might lose during the week of practice if he's not given, 100% of the first team reps?
Well, it depends on the individual and how diligent they are, how good of a non-practice player they are. There's some people that can absorb reps, they can take themselves through it, and they can visualize it in the back during practice and can feel the timing and stuff. And there's some people that can't as much. It's very important, but it affects individual players differently because every player is different. I've seen players be pretty hot when they haven't practiced, and I've seen players really struggle when they haven't practiced. So I wouldn't chase an absolute with that one either. But it is there's a reason they say practice makes perfect. It's an important part of the process that, to a degree, you can't. It's something you can't supplement in terms of how. If you don't get it, you don't really get it back.
Can you describe then the dynamic with Jimmy and Trey during the week? Like, what goes into making the decision in terms of, Kyle's been pretty clear, like Trey's a backup quarterback. He's not going to get too many first team reps aside from maybe a handful of plays that you guys work in. But just go into the decision of, okay, we're not going to give Trey first team reps just yet, maybe down the road, but just how you find that balance.
So when you're trying to anticipate how much you're going to use somebody in a given game, how they're going to play, and then it's like every other problem solving thing we have to do as coaches. One problem solving tool we've used is, okay, you look at the opponent's offense, and during scout team when you're servicing the defense, the quarterback coach and the offensive coaches have to put the time in to look through those type of plays and be able to apply it to our offense so that you can steal reps in your offense doing someone else's offense. The terminology, the reads, the progressions. We don't know the opponent's playbook, but we know what the plays are, and then we can take the extra time to make sure that, hey, it's written down on the card. Okay, this is X, Y, or Z for our offense. So there's countless number of things. Staying after practice, having some of the receivers that are fresher stay out there, or tight ends and running backs, and executing plays and timing that way. You don't just say it is what it is. He can't get reps, and no, that's not part of our process. Our job is to get people better. So when there's only a finite amount of reps and our starting quarterback is getting a high percentage of those or all of those, then we have to find workarounds, and that's what we're trying to do as best we can.
In 2017, when Garoppolo was like, the savior, was like a phenomenon, and maybe not quite Steve Young and Joe Montana levels of love, but right up there. And now, so many fans are like, can we just get him away? We want Trey Lance. And, so just obviously, opposite ends of the spectrum as far as how he's being embraced or not. How has he handled both those highs and
he does a very good job handling that stuff because he understands, like we all do, and Coach Shanahan makes sure we do, that this is a bottom line business. And this just in, the fans of the 49ers want the 49ers to win. And so when we don't, they want something to change. And so he doesn't take it personal. You have to take praise in the same regard as criticism. You know that you're going to get praised if things are going real well. The cooler part is when things aren't going well, you're able to put that in perspective and not let that distract you from what you're trying to do. We got to play another game, and he's trying to play what is to the best of his ability. So thinking about anything else. I think he understands that. As a matter of fact, I know he understands that. Guess what? If we lose football games, we're going to get more criticism. That's what we get paid to do, and you don't take it personal, or it's, if we don't win football games, there's going to be consequences. There always are in that regard, and I think he's done an outstanding job, not worrying about any of that this week specifically, and worrying about how to execute this game plan for the Chicago Bears.
Talk about how much better of a command he had over the offense when he came into training camp.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that's changed or whatnot since then, or is it just not translating to games as well? Or
no, I mean, he was doing real well, and then he got hurt, and then he played one game. So like that, you have to keep that in perspective. We had a bye week, and there was time, but people have to remember that we just played a really, really rainy, wet game. That's hard for quarterbacks, and it's no excuse at all because the other quarterback was playing in the same rainy game. But like in terms of his trajectory and what, he was playing at a very high level. He got hurt. He came back, and then, we didn't play nearly as well as we wanted to. That has some to do with him, but when we look at it as coaches, it has a lot to do with a lot of other people as well. So coaches included. So I don't really see a trajectory from what we were speaking of. He does own the offense, and he does understand what we're trying to get done, and it's night and day from when we first got him, and much better than the year before. The last game and right before he got hurt, it wasn't to the standard that he started with, but that doesn't mean anything but that, hey, I didn't play good. That happens at all positions for every player. Pretty sure on any sport, Tiger Woods has missed the cut. Michael Jordan has gone over. At every position, when you handle the ball every single time, and you're going to have games that aren't your best. His job is to make sure that game is the aberration, that game is the exception. It's not the rule, which this week in practice, it's felt like that was the case.
How important is it for receivers to sort of make every route look the same, at least to a defensive back, so that they don't know what's coming? And is that something Brandon Ayuk's had to work on this year?
It's very important. That is like the skill of receiver play 101. Your first and foremost, your advantage as an offensive player when you're running a route is the defender doesn't know what you're doing. That's bottom line. Well, I guess it starts with the snap count. They don't know what the snap count is, but then if someone's trying to guard you, if you can make everything look the same, it's a lot more difficult to guard someone. That's our advantage, and that is something definitely that some of what we've been talking about in terms of needing to him to develop, yeah, that's part of it. To get him to understand, to look through the lens of a defender with every route, and what tools and things that successful or receivers that are successful have. One of the fundamental things of that is making all routes look the same, starting with a go route and then moving on from there.
All right.
Well, silence the room. All right. Thanks, guys.